You know it. Okay. We're going to get started. This is Justin Krell. He's from Behavioral Healthcare Options. That's our EAP. He's going to kind of run the show today. He's brought Cindy with him. He'll introduce her, and I'm just going to let him get started.
Well, we'll have Cindy do the honors of kind of explaining who she is and her role and her involvement with the Employee Assistance Program. She is a local clinician, so she is one of our fine, shining examples of the type of people you can contact and have some counseling sessions with. And what's really nice is Cindy has offices not only here in Brigham, but also in the Ogden area, North Ogden area. So if you want to get out of the community a little bit and take care of some of the counseling stuff, it's a great resource. It's also really nice to have Cindy up here because obviously she's a female, and you know there's oftentimes shortages of female counselors in the community. So I'll let her kind of chat about her expertise a little bit. All right? Yeah, sure. If you want to stand up, come up, whatever. We're talking about stress management today, so
That's why I came.
that's why there's no tie. Yeah, exactly.
I am over at Associated Psychotherapists. I started my practice there about 7 years ago. Was there for about a year and a half, and then moved to North Ogden. I raised my children here in Brigham City, so this is kind of my home. Came back with Associated Psychotherapists about 6-7 months ago. Those guys are great. I don't know if you know John Arrington, Jason Williams, John Christensen, and now we have Aaron Gardner. Great men, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with them. A little bit about myself. My specialty, my specialized training is in addiction and issues surrounding pornography, sexual addiction. I work a lot with the partners of individuals who struggle with sexual addiction. I also do a lot with depression, anxiety. I earned my graduate degree from University of Utah. I'd like to say that that's where my education came, and it did. I don't want to, I have a piece of paper on the wall, but primarily my education has come more through life experiences. I first became acquainted with Associated Psychotherapists about 25 years ago when I sat on the opposite side of the couch than where I sit now. And my experiences, though I can't say it I couldn't say it at the time, my experiences have really, and the difficulties that I've been through have really, I feel, have been my true education, where I really learned how to be hopefully effective and helpful in dealing with others. On a personal note, just personally, my car doesn't start unless it's got a Coke in the cup holder. Sorry, I'm standing here. This is the part I'm not real comfortable doing. I graduated first from Utah State University here at the Extension Center, and then got my first bachelor's in psychology, and then I went and got another one in social work, and then graduated with my master's degree in social work from the University of Utah. I've been a social worker for about 18 years. Just been a clinician for 6.5 years. From a personal standpoint, I'm a single mother. I'm a grandmother now. I don't claim my children are raised and married. Raised them primarily here in Brigham City, and some of you look like about the age of my kids, and so I won't tell you their names. A couple of them were a little bit, especially law enforcement.
They might be familiar with the kids, right?
Yeah, I'm going to maintain my anonymity for law enforcement back there. But no, I raised 6 children, primarily here and on my own, which was a blessing and a challenge as well. I have 11 grandchildren, that are kind of the center of my world right now. My kids, when I go over there, they always, as I leave, they go, "Hi, Mom," because it's not about the kids anymore, it's about grandchildren. 3 years ago, I'm a 3-year survivor of breast cancer. Went through breast cancer and chemotherapy, which was a challenge in and of itself. But again, it adds to my experience. In my work, I don't know what your perception of counseling is. Most people come in and they're nervous and unsure, and I remember those feelings. But in my counseling and in the work that I do with people, I do try to give skills and teach skills, but ultimately, I feel like my job is to renew or instill hope again, because many people come in and that's what they're lacking in their life for a variety of reasons. But if a client leaves my office and they still have that forlorn, hopeless look in their eye, then I question my effectiveness in that session, because ultimately that's what moves us to change and to restore our ability to be the people that we want to be, as if somehow we can regain, or for some, learn to have hope again. I love my work. Like I said, I've been a social worker for a long time. I love what I do. I love working with the guys over at Associated Psychotherapists. They're great men. And as far as my involvement here, I am a provider for your EAP. Like Justin said, I do have an office in North Ogden. I'm up here 3 days a week, and I'm in North Ogden 2 days a week. And some people like that because Brigham's a small town, and sometimes there's issues that present in our life that we like to keep a little more on the low key. And so just know that that's available, is that I'm in North Ogden as well as Brigham City. And any questions?
Great.
Well, I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to be here.
It's great.
Trying to learn how to manage my stress.
Perfect.
So
Well, hopefully,
this
feel
is
free
good.
to chime in on anything we're talking about today. And it's nice to kind of put a face and a face with the EAP, and this is certainly one of the faces of the EAP, which is a nice feature. Today we're talking about stress management. Why do we want to talk about stress management? Because we all have stress in our life, right? Anybody here has never had any stress? Yeah, there, this guy does. And he's in denial. We can get you some counseling, right? Oh, yeah. And what stress is something we all know, and most of us know it all too well. It's just we've totally gotten used to having stress as part of our regular life. And one thing we don't have part of our regular life are necessarily tools to deal with stress. So we're going to talk about, stress and some tools and some things we can do to manage our stress. This stuff isn't new or revolutionary. These are things you've heard before, but we need reminders of how to manage our stress on a regular basis. Anybody here deal with their stress in a positive way? No. There you go, right on. We might have to get some input from you in a little bit. Anybody here ever deal with stress in a negative way? Yeah, me too. Yeah, well, I think we all do. And you can kind of think of examples of what we're talking about as we go. Stress is pretty much how you deal with the perception of a situation. And it's a pretty natural response. We've all heard this fight or flight response to emergency situations, especially, the law enforcement guys are real familiar with this concept. One thing I want you to understand about stress, it is how you perceive a situation. You can look at something as stressful, or you can look at it as maybe not so stressful. So keep that in mind, because that'll give you some control and some power in how to deal with stress. So the example I used on Tuesday of a stressful situation I went through was on my drive up on Tuesday. And I was driving and I was running a little late, so I wasn't speeding. Anyway, but I was pushing the limit, and there was a car going 50 miles an hour in the fast lane. Guess what plates were on the car? We had jokes about this on Tuesday. Idaho. Yep, she guessed. So You know, the Idaho fast lane is the Utah slow lane. I think they just have it backwards. Anyway, I pull up, and instead of, you know, tailgating and flashing my lights and being obnoxious to this guy, I'm like, okay, hey, I'm coming up to Box Elder to talk about stress management. Why don't I think about dealing with this situation in a different way? So instead of my normal kind of flash the lights in the truck and, you know, pull right up on their back and get them to move over, I took a deep breath. I slowly merged over to the right, and I went around them. No hand gestures, no yelling, nothing like that. So that was a real life example of how you can kind of restructure your stress response. So think about that maybe in the next couple days. A situation that usually irritates you or stresses you out, try something different and see how it works and see if it works better. Common stressors. As I said a minute ago, we all have stressors every day of our lives. It's life is stress, and stress is life, so to say. We have financial stressors, family stressors. Anyone here ever have work stress? No, never. None of us ever. Lack of time. Anybody feel like you don't ever have enough time, or time's going too fast? I battle with that one a lot too. Health related stress, change, instability and change is a big stressor. Unfortunately, you guys are employees of a county, and that affords you some job stability, which is very, very beneficial. But people out there right now, maybe you have a spouse in the private sector working, there's a lot of instability, not knowing you know, what next year will bring or where that next paycheck's coming from can cause a lot of stress. Life events. What are some of the top stressful life events? Anybody guess? Death. Marriage. Marriage, moving, having kids. And a lot of people, they get married, move, and have kids all in. It's like they're creating all this crazy stress for themselves. Absolutely. So this stuff's normal. It's a normal part of our life. And what we've done is we've spent our lives being exposed to these kind of stressors. And so we've learned some ways to deal with stress. And a lot of those ways probably aren't positive ways. So I want to take, you know, some time today for you guys to kind of rethink and reframe your thinking about how you deal with stress. A little bit about the stress reaction model, and we want to hit on this stuff because the more you understand how stress works and how you work in managing stress, the more control you have. So there's a situation, you perceive it as stressful. Like, let me use the example of driving. Here I go, I'm driving, here's that slow guy, I almost run into him. I perceive that as stressful. I didn't really need to perceive that as stressful, but I'm kind of pre-programmed to be stressed out about that stuff. So that's the first thing. I perceived it as stressful. I start feeling that emotional arousal. I get angry. You feel kind of the blood pressure going up, the hair standing up on the back of your neck. That would be the physiological arousal. And then what happens is you have medical or physiological consequences to stress. There's lots and lots of research that says people that don't deal with stress have medical problems. What do you think one of the top medical problems is related to
Ulcers.
stress? Stomach, heart attack. Absolutely. Stomach issues, ulcers. You know people that are constantly stressed out. I have an uncle who's one of those guys. He's a stress case. And guess what? He also has a ton of medical problems. And we all have one of those in our lives. You may be that person in your life. And that's okay. We'll give you some tools on how to deal with it. Some other symptoms of stress. Some of these are real obvious. We talked about blood pressure. Headaches are definitely a sign of stress. Anxiety, depression are definitely symptoms of stress. Insomnia, being short-tempered, these are all symptoms of stress. So if you've got this kind of stuff going on in your life, and it's not making sense what the source is, think, hey, am I going through a lot of stress? Certainly that could link to why you're feeling depressed or having headaches, things like that. going to talk about some intervention strategies on how to deal with stress. And I think this is kind of the nuts and bolts of our discussion today. Like I said earlier, we have stress every day in our life. And that's just how it is. We've learned through our life how to deal with stress, and it's usually not positive, but we don't really take time out and think about positive ways to deal with stress. So here's some physical interventions. I think one of my favorite ones, and one that's quick and easy and doesn't take much effort, is just take a deep breath. I said, everybody here, I'm going to too. Just, and instantly, you feel better. Don't have a heart attack over there. All right. Take a long hot bath or a long shower. Some other things you want to do, and we got this discussion of great big Cokes and caffeine today. We've got a couple of people who have quit caffeine. At least there's one in the room today. That would cause me more stress than it's worth. But watch your intake of sugar, salts, those unhealthy foods. A lot of us, when we're dealing with stress, tend to eat poorly. One thing I can think about, if I'm really busy and having a stressed out day, I'll just swing in and grab some fast food because it's quick and easy and I have limited time. But that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to actually be taking better care of ourselves. And this often happens. The more stressed out and the busier we get, the things we drop the first are probably the things that are the healthiest for us. Anybody here ever say, man, I'm so busy this week, I don't have time to go play basketball with my buddies or go to the gym or take a walk, I'm too busy. And we all get ourselves in this predicament, and it's probably the time where you really should be doing those healthy things as the most important point. Exercise is a great way to manage stress. Get a hobby, unless it's a stressful hobby, you're going to drop that. Listen to music. Reduce environmental toxins. We've got all this chaos going around us all the time. I was using an example a week or so ago. I was sitting in my office, and I had 2 computers going, I had bright lights, I had a radio going, my phone's ringing, one cell phone, one office phone is going, and I'm like, whoa, this is just too much. I kind of need to limit this stuff, so I turn off phones, turn off one of the computers, switch the radio to something a little more relaxing. So things like that. Pay attention to the environmental toxins that are all around you all the time, and try to minimize those. Here's some other intervention strategies, and these are more on the cognitive, emotional side of things. Laugh. Laugh a lot. What?
I've been doing that a lot.
It's good. Do you feel better?
Not really.
You don't feel like laughing. If I think, and everybody's laughing. Thanks for entertaining everybody. At least they're feeling less stressed. If you think about it, you know the super happy people, the funny people in your life, they're usually probably the least stressful people. And I can think of that. I've got some buddies in my life, they're just hilarious, and they're always on it, always humorous. And if I think about it, they're not stressful guys. So a little bit of humor, laughing, telling of appropriate jokes, not inappropriate jokes, it can be very good. Reframe, change the way you look at things. Try to switch something that you might look at typically a problem as an opportunity. This morning, I dropped my phone and completely shattered. So I was thinking about an example of how I can reframe this as a negative thing as an opportunity. And I thought, well, maybe I can actually get a new phone now. But I'm not eligible for my new phone for a month, so I'm just going to scotch tape it up. But anyway, I try to put a positive spin. Instead of throwing it down and getting shattering it worse, I try to make a positive situation. So try to look at things as opportunity over problematic. Change your expectation. Yes?
Really all these, you know, these events that take place in our life that we determine as being, you know, have such a stressful effect on it, it's usually not the event. It's our belief system about the event. It's what we believe that event means in our life that causes us the stress. So oftentimes it's just a matter of learning, you know, changing your belief system about that particular event. And as a result, your consequence, the outcome is different and not quite as stressful. So reframing
That's a
is
huge,
huge.
great idea. And what she's saying is so true, but it's hard to do. And it takes practice. So you're not going to overnight change how you react to a situation because you've been reacting that way for a long, long time. But what she's saying is you can change your belief system about it, and that gives you the power to change, which is a great thing. So reframing is very, very important. Change your expectations. And I hate to say this, but sometimes we need to lower your expectations. And this will improve your dating life. That's you. Okay. Yeah, some of us have set expectations for ourselves that are so over the top, and this is another thing that we've done for a long, long time. Lower your expectations a little bit. You know, and it sounds weird to lower your expectations, but hey, it works. You know, don't be off the chart with things. Set goals. Set some attainable goals. Again, set manageable goals. If your goals are too far out there, it's going to create stress because you can never achieve them. Here's some interpersonal and social strategies. A big thing, reestablish a support network. You know, a group of friends, family, whoever you hang out with. And again, these are the things that you first drop when you're too busy and stressed out. Oh, I'm too busy, I can't, you know, go hang out with my buddies, or I'm too busy, I'm not, no longer, you know, doing volunteer stuff. And it's probably the most important time that you should be doing that type of stuff when you're stressed out. Talk to someone. And guess what? You guys have free access to counseling of people that you can go talk to. If you don't want to pester your friends or family about your problems, we've got people that you can pester all day long, and they get paid for it. So you do have access to counseling. So make sure you talk to somebody. Join something. Join a volunteer organization, a club, a sports team, something like that. Really, really important idea is schedule some time for yourself and your family. And again, this is one of those things we can all think about when we get too busy. The first thing that suffers, besides yourself, is usually your family, because you don't spend enough time. Another interesting thing is learn to say no. I'm one of those guys, and have been for years. Okay, a friend asks you to help you to move. Yeah, I'll do it. You know, your sweetie asks you to do this big project. Yeah, I'll do it. And then you start, yes, and you find out, hey, I've got too much stuff going on here. So learn to say no. If it's not manageable for you, don't feel bad about saying no. And you can explain to people, you know, I have to say no because, you know, I can't be a quality mover this weekend because I'm too busy or something like that. But learn to say no. Another excellent stress intervention, and also a creator of stress, is being disorganized. And I go through this all the time personally. An example is I'm going to look for a certain tool. Okay, I was trying to look for a little electrical tester. I got, you know, the little two-prong thing that lights up the other day. Couldn't find this thing. Could not find this thing. I looked for a half an hour, where if I was nice and organized and listened to, you know, what my dad always said, every tool has a place, and make sure you put stuff where it goes, I wouldn't have spent that half hour looking for a dumb little tool. I would have known it, and I would have had less stress. Organization is great. Take a minute out and try to get something organized. It'll really help reduce your stress. Plan your day out. Plan things out. You know, there's this great concept, and we think a lot about it to save gas and things like that, but plan your trips and try to do all your stops in one loop instead of in and out, in and out, in and out. So plan your day. Sometimes we don't need to try harder. You know, we've all had this concept, the harder I try, you know, I'll accomplish it. And that's not always the case. If you're trying something really, really hard and it still doesn't work for you, try something different or get some advice or some support. So don't try harder, try differently. This stuff makes sense. It's real basic stuff, and we have this on our mind, but it's nice to have a little bit of a refresher course on here. Here's some spiritual intervention strategies. Be of service to someone else. And this was really interesting because when I was leaving after Tuesday's seminar, there was a conversation it was on KSL radio, and they were talking about some research, and it was some relationship research that they found that if in a relationship, if you're serving your spouse in a positive way, if you're doing nice things for your spouse, the relationship would improve, and then you couldn't be angry at the person you're serving. And they were calling it the Benjamin Franklin effect, where you can't hate someone you're serving as long as you're not serving them to get something in return. So it was kind of an interesting idea, if you want to read about that, Benjamin Franklin effect. Be of service to someone else. Help people. One thing that I find very, very beneficial, and this is something I practice on a daily basis, is do something nice for someone each and every day. And it can be very basic. It could be holding a door open for someone, smiling at someone, letting someone in, you know, at the four-way stop or in traffic. Just try that. Spend a week doing it. One simple, nice thing for a random act of kindness, and you'll really feel a lot better with yourself. I think something that's very, very important, and if you can put this into practice, is create a gratitude list. No matter how down and out you are, how stressed out you are, you have things to be grateful for. And if you take a minute out and remind yourself of the things you can be grateful for, it'll change your focus quite a bit. And something, though, that also this can measure, if you're so down and so depressed and so hopeless you can't think of anything to be grateful for, that's going to be a warning sign that you probably want to talk to someone, reach out and get some help. If you can't find something to be grateful for. Daily affirmations. Say, I'll date myself a little bit, but I used to watch Saturday Night Live with Stuart Smalley. I don't know if anybody remembers him, but he's great at saying, I'm good enough, I'm strong enough, and things like that. So, you know, some positive self-talk to yourself goes a long way. You can build yourself up. Let who you are and what you do be enough for today. Be happy with who you are. Live in the moment. Try these type of strategies. Work strategies. And we want to talk about these because work's a big part of our life. It's like happy life, and it also causes stress. Anybody here ever have a bad day at work and take it home with you? Yes. We all do that. So here's some strategies that can help you have a little better day at work. Instant alignment. Ride the horse in the direction it's going. Sometimes it's easier just to go in the direction of the county or of the company you work for instead of trying to battle that and change that. Again, change causes us stress. And I'll use another example. We changed the whole database system internally at the company I work for. And everybody battled it because we had finally just figured out the old one, and now there's a new one. We all battled it, and everybody was resistant. And then then I kind of decided, hey, I'm going to check this new one out and just kind of go with it and learn it. And it ended up being a lot better. But man, we were fighting that thing. We didn't like it. Everybody's finding every fault with it. But, it would have been much better just to kind of go in that direction. instead of trying to buck the system too much. Establish some daily work goals. Handful of little goals like, I'm going to show up to work. That's a good goal. The first one. Maybe I'm going to accomplish these 5 tasks today, things like that. Recommit to your job. Be grateful you have a job. And sometimes we get in this habit of not being positive about our job and complaining about our jobs. But again, that's something that you can put on your gratitude list and recommit to your job. List your skills and talents. Remind yourself why you have your job. You guys are all experts in your arena. And do some continual education. Learn something new in your job. And you know, law enforcement and fire have all sorts of great training opportunities all the time for continual improvement. So that's kind of nice. Tolerate management mistakes. Anybody's boss ever do something you don't agree with? Absolutely. Yeah, don't ever say anything to your boss. But it's okay to tolerate management mistakes. We all make mistakes. I think one of the probably most important things in not only dealing with stress, but dealing with life is control your attitude. And this was explained to me very, very simply. You can be positive or you can be negative about any situation. It's your choice. You know, certainly we have some belief systems, as Cindy was talking about, that we learn our whole life, and those aren't necessarily healthy or good ones. So in a situation when you start feeling, you know, that kind of stress reaction that we all know too well, think, hey, I can be positive about this, or I can be negative about this. And you'll be really surprised how that focuses you and gives you all the control. So here I'm coming up the highway. There's that slow guy from Idaho I told you about, going 50. And I chose right then, hey, I could be positive about this situation instead of negative. I mean, the negative response wasn't going to help anybody. And so that's a good example. So I kind of challenge each and every one of you today or this week to pick a situation where typically you respond to it in a negative way. Anybody think about any situations where you're negative? Yeah, all of us have them. But look at it in a positive way. And I think that'll be a real good thing to do. But again, this stuff just doesn't happen overnight. We have spent all our lives dealing with stress in negative ways. So to do it in a positive way is going to take a lot of practice and a lot of reminders. And since we're talking about positive and negative, being negative isn't good for you. Anybody know one of those people that's negative about everything? I'm sure we might have some of those people in this room. That's okay. I affectionately call them Eeyores. You know, and I've got 2 buddies who just walk around negative and moping about everything all the time. And, you know, they're not really enjoyable to hang around. I mean, I like them. They're good friends of mine, so I support them, but not very positive. And that's a consequence of negativitis. It's contagious. It spreads. And we all know that group of negative people. And you want to try to avoid that group. So if you're one of these negative people and all of a sudden realize no one's hanging around with you, you know why, because we talked about it today. Being negative is bad for your health. Damages your immune system. There's lots and lots of research on how people do positive thinking. And even, as Cindy talked about, she's a survivor of cancer, and I think a big deal to recover from things like that is constant positive thoughts and that type of stuff. Some of the benefits of positive thinking. It gives you the opportunity to think of positive outcomes or other alternatives. Instead of being negative about a situation, that I can't take it and I can't deal with this, if you're positive about the situation, it gives you some control and some alternative ways to deal with things. It opens up yourself for creative thinking. Much better problem-solving skills if you're positive about a situation. I mean, think back in a life challenge that you were faced with that you dealt with in a positive way. It probably worked out much better than in a negative way. Gives you more confidence because you have the control to take charge and make changes and deal with situations. You have much better focus, more determination, and a more satisfied life. And we can, here's a kind of real world example of how the negative snowball can take over. Anybody here ever wake up in the morning on the wrong side of the bed? I mean, this is a common term. Absolutely. I woke up one morning, stubbed my toe, really bad on the edge of the bed. And I just knew the whole day was going to snowball. And sure it did, because I didn't reframe that and try to be positive. I got negative, and certainly everything goes wrong. You know, you back into someone pulling out of the driveway, then you hit a traffic jam, then you spill your Coke or coffee down the front of you, then you get to work and everything goes wrong. Anybody ever have days like that where it starts off wrong and just snowballs? It does. So when that type of day starts, instead of being negative, choose to be positive and recorrect that, and you'll find typically it'll work out better for you. If you're positive, you'll have higher output, you'll be more successful, you'll live longer, more opportunities, because positive attracts positive, negative attracts negative. I don't know the laws of physics associated with that, but certainly works. So if you're a happy, positive person, you'll attract more people around you and more opportunity. Some things we do, and this is right up Cindy's line of expertise for sure, would be monitoring your self-talk. We have been saying the wrong things to ourselves for a long time. Again, being negative. I can't do it. I can't deal with this. I can't take this. Or I've had it up to here with you. You know, all these sayings we catch ourselves saying. Try to reframe that, and instead of saying I can't, say, oh yeah, absolutely I can. I can take this. I can handle this. This isn't a big deal. You know, this isn't a bad situation. It's just life. So monitor your self-talk. Catch yourself when you're saying something negative and try to change it to saying something positive. Allow yourself to actively imagine a positive outcome. And again, this is hard stuff to do. This is stuff we're not in the habit of, but it actually works. If you can put the positive outcome idea out there, you'll naturally work towards that. Again, we talked about some daily affirmations, but create positive statements like, yeah, I can, we were talking earlier, you guys were doing your PT out in the wind. And instead of saying, I can't do this, I can't make it through this dust storm, you know, hey, I'm going to use this as a beneficial part of my training. So that could be an example. Otherwise, you couldn't succeed and get to it. As we mentioned, it takes practice and practice and practice and practice. And this is just kind of a start. You know, it's been a long time, even for myself, it's been a while since I thought about stress management. So it's really nice to have a refresher course. Take some time out of your stressful life and learn some techniques to deal with stress. So again, the challenge here that I want you to take away, there's a couple of them. Number one, try to do something nice for someone each day. I think that's very good. Look at situations that normally you would look at as negative. Think about them as positive. Make that choice to have a positive attitude. And also, when you start feeling that stress reaction, try one of these simple stress techniques. There's a whole bunch on those little cards that I gave you. Find one that works for you. Don't try to put one in place that's not going to work for you. For me, it's always a deep breath type of thing that works the best for me. And there you go. So, and again, let me talk a little bit about the EAP. If you find yourself in a constant state of stress or depression or anxiety, and it seems to be going on and on and on, and you can't seem to change it, that's when you want to call the EAP. We provide you free counseling, and this is a service provided by the county. They pay for it for you. And the reason the county pays for this stuff is they understand you guys have problems in your daily life, and they want to give you a tool to take care of it, because of course you'll be happier, healthy people and employees, so it makes real sense why the county wants to do or pay for your counseling for you. So the EAP is good for you and anybody who lives in your household. So if you have someone you're living with who's struggling, if your kids, your spouse, whatever, you give us a call, and we'll point you in the right direction for counseling. Also within the EAP, and I gave you all EAP brochures, read about some of the other services like the child and elder care support services, the legal and financial services. There's a lot of online type of services that can really benefit you. What we find is when you think of the employee assistance program, the first thing you think of is counseling. There's a lot more stuff in addition to just the counseling for you. And again, it's all free. And another big thing is it's confidential. We don't tell the county anything about anything. And that's very good. Another great thing is I work with a ton of counties and municipalities all over the place, and I talk to a lot of police and fire guys, and a lot of police and fire guys don't like to go necessarily to counseling because it can they think it impacts their permanent record, and certainly it can through traditional counseling. EAP stuff doesn't. There's no medical record, so this doesn't go against you or on your record. So I find a lot of police and fire guys use the EAP for that very reason. Any questions? Stuff makes sense? I need to take a deep breath here. I'm starting to feel a little camera makes me nervous. Yeah, I'm going to practice some stress management. So again, you guys enjoy yourselves and have a great day. And if you don't have any questions, we're done, even 10 minutes early, so you guys can go do something to relax.
The pamphlets?
Yeah, a whole bunch of them. And on Tuesday, what was really funny and somewhat stressful for me, I passed out all the pamphlets, and they were all in Spanish.
Oh, nice.
But someone's like, hey, these are in Spanish. And I'm like, hey, at least someone's reading them, So that's a plus. Yeah.